What's up everybody, this is Luto Vazwe and you're chilling with me, Luto Vazwe, on my channel, Chess with Luto Vazwe, my take, my thoughts, my interpretation of the game of chess and everything in between. Right, we are on part 2 of the Cape Town Masters issue that happened between FIDE Master, Kelvin Klaasen, International Master, Watu Kobese, versus the arbiters of the tournament. Now in the previous video we looked at a few segments of the video that was published by the players in Chess Nonsense and Analysis, where FIDE Master, Kelvin Klaasen, International Master Watu Kobese were offering their views and reasons on why it is that the game cannot be counted as bringing the game of chess into disrepute and as a pre-arranged draw. And we were giving some critique on discrepancies that I was seeing in terms of the manner in which their storyline flowed. But of course, in the previous video, I did not yet prove anything with regards to whether the game was pre-arranged or not. So in this video, we are going to be looking at the appeals committee, the reasons that were given by the players in objecting the pre-arranged draw, and perhaps we'll be looking at some of the nonsensical moves that were mentioned by the appeals committee. But before we jump into that, firstly, let's pick up where we left off in the previous episode. I realized that my thoughts were not so clear at the end of the video, where I was speaking about the incident that Watu was telling us a story of, where he experienced a cheating incident at the Moja Chess Extravaganza, reported it to the arbiters, and the arbiters did nothing about that. So here's the video.
We're fixing the game, and the result was it was a thrown. One player threw the game to the other player. Okay, they were both title players. I personally went to both gentlemen because they were there, and I said, "This is a fix," and this and that. They said put it in. They tried. They didn't say I should put in writing first. They went up and down, this and that. The next round they did nothing, and the next round they announced, if you have anything, please put it in writing. So they let that stand. Okay.
So at the end of the previous video, I was trying to show that the complaint that Watu was giving is not the same as the case that happened in the Cape Town Masters Challenge. In the Cape Town Masters Challenge, the arbiter was present at the table and he was the one that witnessed the event that was happening, the draw by repetition and also the draw by agreement. Whereas in this cheating incident, the arbiter was not present but had to rely on Watu to be the one that tells him that there is a cheating incident that's going on. So if we were to use book analogies, we'd say that in the case of the Moja Chess Extravaganza, the arbiter was relying on a third-person narrative, but yet in the Cape Town Masters Challenge, it was a first-person narrative. Now, when dealing with cheating or match fixing, especially when coming from a third-person narrative or coming from another source other than the arbiter, there are laws that the arbiter has to abide by, or else the arbiter himself might find himself in trouble if he bypasses these laws. For example, if we look at the Annexure 19B anti-cheating guidelines for arbiters, on Part A, where it speaks about in-tournament complaints, it says the following. If the report is based on possible breaches of Article 11.2 or 11.3a, then the arbiter shall investigate the breach in the usual manner with reference to Article 12.9 for possible penalties. If the complainant is specifically about possible cheating, then the chief arbiter shall, in the first place, identify the complainant and invite him to fill out a complaint form mentioned in Appendix A. The complainant shall provide the arbiter the reasons why the complaint is being made and shall sign the form on completion. However, if the complainant is tense, then the arbiter shall record the name of the complainant and ask for his signature, and only at a later time ask him to fill in the form, but no later than the end of the round. So the arbiter was well within his rights to say that if somebody is suspected of cheating, then the one who is reporting the cheating should actually fill out the form and put it in writing. And if International Master Watu Kobese felt so strongly about the cheating, then he should have put the issue in writing. From the video, though, it seems as if that Watu did not put his complaint in writing, but he still uses that as an example of an incident where the arbiters in question actually were selective and misjudged the situation. So for me, I do not see an issue with that, and I do not think that the example that he quoted is actually relevant to the example in the Cape Town Masters Challenge 2025, where the arbiter was the one that was present at the board at the time. But let's move on to another issue. FIDE Master Calvin Klaassen mentions 2 points. One of the points is that there is no proof of prearrangement as expressed by the appeals committee.
2 more points here before we start looking at the strategy of this position. Number 1, in this document that was sent that shows that our appeal was declined, right, or denied, it mentions that there's no proof of prearrangement, which there wasn't. But secondly,
now on this point, I agree with the players. On point 4 of the appeals committee, it says, there was no clear evidence provided that the game was prearranged between the players. It is evident from the notation of the match from lead chess that up to move 11, a normal game was played. So the appeals committee makes an admission to say that there is no prearrangement that was evident. So we'll have to investigate on what basis do they say that there is a prearranged draw. This is the reason that they give. On point number 5 of the appeals committee document, the law, article number 11.1 is quoted, which says that the player shall take no action that will bring the game of chess into disrepute. So now the arbiters are going to argue their case from this law. So let's see how they structure the argument. It said, although it is common practice for elite players agreeing to a draw in order to save energy for the next round, as highlighted by FIDE Master Calvin Klaassen, we considered the manner in which the threefold repetition was achieved. Analysis of the game indicates that the players made no material effort to reach an outcome of the game. This brings the game into disrepute. Specifically, the players moved their kings in a manner that followed little logic, as their kings were not being attacked and were not under check. It is evident that neither player made a reasonable attempt to continue the game. So that's an interesting assertion. And of course, in the video, Chess Nonsense and Analysis had a lot to say with regards to that assertion. And if you look at the video from segment number 19, or at 19 minutes up until about, say, 35 minutes, an analysis of the moves King H1 and King H8 are given. And the strategical ideas as to why these moves are played are also given as well.
Yes, what have I done?
what's happening? Bishop G5?
95.
Oh, okay.
This is the whole point.
Just point out.
Bishop takes G5, 95. King G1. Highlight the king on G1. Highlight the king on G1. The rook on G8 and the king on G1. If you move the bishop, knight takes F3 and the queen is lost. Highlight the fact that the pawn on C4. Highlight the fact that the pawn on C4 is hanging.
So, okay, and eventually I lose the game, right? Good game by Jere, and that's my experience. Just to point out that with the Fischer and there, the same idea. G6 got played because the king is on G1, G8.
Socrates.
He doesn't want his king on H8 because of his bishop.
Depends where the king is. It's not just the thing.
So, yeah, that's and
Bishop F3.
whatever, right? Yeah.
But whatever white plays, I need to be ready in terms of, let's make an example. Let's say white plays for whatever reason. So I play king H8. Let's say white plays G3. I'm just making an example. Okay, it's a nonsensical move. Okay, not that 1500 know what a nonsensical move is, but that's beside the point. Okay, so G3 is a nonsensical move, but now the diagonal is weakened. And now I can play rook A7, for example. I can consider I can play queen A8. Because now all of a sudden the diagonal is weakened and D5 will
come. To make non-committal moves and useful moves at the same time, King G1 makes sense.
So I disagree with the notion from the appeals committee that the moves that were made very little logic, as there are deep positional reasons why the moves were made. However, even there, what we can discuss is whether the moves king h1, king h8, and returning the kings back is actually a sound principle. And we must remember, guys, that a draw between two 1200s is not the same as a draw between two 1500s, is not the same as a draw between two 1900s, and certainly is not a draw between two title players, 2200 and at one point a player who had a 2400 rating. So we expect that when a 2400, when the 2200 players get to draw a game, there are subtleties that are involved which cannot be immediately noticeable to the people who are looking at the game. But now you see, there's something that confuses me a bit, because the players seem to give as reasons for agreeing to the draw that there are a lot of subtle issues that could have happened within the position. But on move 11, these subtleties had not yet even occurred on the board, and yet they agreed to a draw by agreement. So why do you agree on move 11 on a draw when these strategical concepts have not yet arisen, if the reason for the threefold repetition was because of the strategical concepts? I mean, on move 11, the concepts are not there, but yet you agreed on a draw. So is it safe to say that the reason why you made a threefold repetition is because you are just trying to reinforce what you are trying to do on move 11? So I think I agree with the appeals committee on this point. Continuing with Article 5, right at the bottom it says, violation of spirit, not letter. While the threefold repetition is a legal way to achieve the draw, using it to circumvent a rule specifically designed to avoid quick draws undermines the rule's intent. This could be viewed as disrespectful to the organizers, the sponsors, and the fans. Accordingly, we find that the actions of both players did bring the game of chess into disrepute. I mean, there's a few things that you could have decided on. You could have decided to play on up until move 30, which is what happened in some other incidences, which we'll talk about at another video. But I mean, to offer a draw at move 11 and to make a threefold repetition starting right the next move, move number 12 to move number 15, suspect.